Spain is reeling after a violent storm swept through the large part of the country, bringing torrential rain, violent wind and sudden hailstorms that turned streets into a river overnight. The region of Madrid, Valencia and Andalusia were among the hardest hit, as emergency service walked through the night and the rescue-stranded residents to clear blocked roads. Meteorologists described the event as one of the most intense autumn storms in recent years. It will, the guess, exceeded 120 km/h in the capital areas. The Spanish weather agency issued red alert, warning cities to stay indoors where necessary travel. In Madrid, heavy flooding forced the closure of several metro stations and caused several traffic chaos. It was like a waterfall coming down the streets, said local resident Laura Gómez. Cars were flooding, trees were falling. It felt apocalyptic. In Valencia, firefighters reported the dozens of emergency calls, and a flash flood inundated in low-lying neighborhoods. Local authorities reported thousands of homes temporarily without electricity. The intensity of the rainfall overlapped the city drainage system, officials said. Farmers across southern Spain also suffered major losses. The high of the size of a golf ball damaged crops and greenhouse. This storm destroyed weeks of work, letting it a farmer near Seville. Experts warn that such extreme weather events are becoming more frequent due to climate change. Weather aide Hood Mama is through with a full, more violent storm, explained climatologist Dr. Gieva Ortega. As the storm moves eastward toward the Mediterranean, cleanup efforts are underway, but many Spaniards are shocking to remain. A violent storm wreaked havoc across large parts of Europe, bringing torrential rain, strong winds and widespread flooding that paralyzed both cities and rural communities. The storm, one of the strongest in recent years, that hit countries from Spain, France and Germany and Poland, leaving millions of people affected. In the northern Italy, roads turned into rivers. In a matter of hours, the rescue service struggled to save motorists who were trapped. In Bavaria, Germany, entire areas were left without power and winds exceeding 113 km/h. Uprooted trees and damaged power lines. It sounded like a fire train rushed through the city, saying Munich resident Johannes Keller, describing the terrifying moment when the storm hit. France faced severe coastal flooding, especially along the Atlantic coast. In a vortex, storm surge flooded streets with strong winds, small window and overturned car. Local authorities declared a state of emergency and urged cities to stay indoors. We haven't seen conditions like this in decades, say Major Alice Laurent. In Catalonia region of Spain, flash floods washed away cars and caused landslides in a mountain area. Rail and air travel were disrupted and hundreds of flights across Europe cancelled. Meteorologists service confirmed that the storm area received more than 115 mm of rainfall in less than 24 hours. Experts warn of the weather in Europe is becoming increasingly unstable. Storms in this magnitude used to occur on every 20 years. Rescue team working continuously through the night across the continent. In Nepal, an emergency service responded more than 2,000 calls relating to flooding and fallen trees. Schools were closed, highways were blocked, and thousands of people through the temporary shelters. Damage to agriculture is expected to be significant. Vineyard in France, olive growers in Italy, and through the field in Germany suffered heavy losses. Economy is estimated to total of cost damage of over 2 billion. Down broke the full extent of the destructive become apparent, buildings destroyed, cars stranded, and communities under the airports rebuilt. Several music festivals and outdoors events were cancelled, leaving thousands of visitors stranded in makeshift shelters. Switzerland too reported significant damage. In Zurich and Lorentz, public transport was suspended as a hail closed rail lines and flooded tram tunnels. Airways saw delays, where insurers prepared for the decided one of the most expensive summer storms in recent years. Hospitals across affected countries treated hundreds of injuries from cuts of barriers and the most serious trauma caused by the fallen debris. Power outage hit tens of thousands of homes while schools and businesses closed in the hardest hit regions. Meteorologists explained that the storm was triggered by the collisions of humid Mediterranean air with the cold northern winds, producing intense supercells capable of generating giant hail. Scientists warn such events are becoming more frequent as Europe warned. We are seeing a climate shift, say climatologist Dr. Eva Schinder. Storms like these, once rare, are now growing through it. Despite the disruption, communities are relevant. Volunteers cleared streets of ice, neighborhood sheltered fruits and extended travels, and an emergency crew worked tirelessly to restore power. As Europe began counting the cost and a hailstorm severe as another stark reminder of nature growing volatility and the urgent need to resilience in affairs of climate experts. Farmers in Lower Saxony reported devastation, losers in their crops and greenhouses, and about destroyed it. Insurance experts warned that the damage could be cost millions, placing an additional body and economy elderly and person. Germany Chancellor Olaf Scholz expressed condolences of the family to the victims and promised swift federal aid. We stand together in the face of this catastrophe, he said, adding the climate adaptation must become a national priority. Meteorologists warn the storm and the magnitude may become more frequent as a warning season to call unstoppable weather across North Europe. At a time, rescue operations continue in flooded town in the mountains valley, with the soldiers, firefighters and volunteers working side by side. For many Germans, in storm will be remembered not only the force but a stark reminder of the growing risk of climate change. Schools were ordered to close. Authority urged residents to stay indoors. Witnesses described a terrifying scenes. It was like a river rushing down by our streets. Cars were flooding and shops' windows collapsing in a matter of minutes, said Joe Martinez, a shop owner in central Valencia. Farmers in the surrounding area reported catastrophic losses with the citrus grove and the rice fields devastation of that flood. Local authorities have declared a state of emergency, and the Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez was pledged immediate assistance. The government stand with Valencia, will rebuild and support all families affected. Experts warn that climate change is intensifying. Extreme weather events in the Mediterranean were warnings increasing the risk in torrential rain and flash floods in Valencia. The storm has left a trail of destruction and urgent questions about preparedness of the storm to come. A powerful Atlantic storm swept across much of Europe, bringing hurricane-force winds, torrential rain, and chaos in several countries, from the Atlantic coast of France and inland cities in Germany. Millions of people forced transport disruption, and emergency service worked at full capacity. In France, will guests exceeded 115 km/h knockdown risk, cut power to more than 400,000 homes and forced several airports to close. It sounded like a fire train was passing through our streets, said Louis Martin, a resident of Brittany, where roads had blocked overnight. Southern Germany was hit by severe flooding when rivers burst at their banks. In Bavaria, rescue evacuated dozens of residents by boat after the local dam threatened to overflow. "We never seen the water rise too fast," explained it firefighters Karl Neumann. Rail service in the region remains severely disrupted. In the Netherlands, authority temporarily closed its section to famous Afsluitdijk dam due to fear and a coastal wave. Meanwhile, Poland and Czech Republic reported widespread hailstorms that severely damaged cars and crops. A sudden and severe hailstorm swept across southern Poland, leaving scene of destruction in its wake and prompted urgent calls to help. The storm, which struck on a Monday evening, battered town and villages with a hailstone the size of walnuts, smashing windows, damaged cars and distorted crops in the middle of the harvest season. Farmers in the Motopolska and Podkarpacia region reported catastrophic losses. In the 10 minutes, everything he had worked in the year was destroyed, said Poret Novak, a farmer from the near Tarnow. The fields looked and someone had chopped them up with the knives. Agriculture representative estimated hundreds of hectares of corn, potatoes and orange have been destroyed, with the could lead higher food prices in the coming month. Residents described chaos and the hail-pounded roofs and a blanket drain caused sudden flooding in the city streets. Emergency service responded to hundreds of calls, and a fire crews worked through the night, including debris and secure damaged homes. Fortunately, no deaths were reported, although several people suffered minor injuries from the broken glass. Local authorities are assessing the damage with estimated to be tens of millions of euros. The Polish Meteorological Institute was warned for the Celtic cold more storms in the coming days are unstoppable weather continued to prevail in Central Europe. Climatologists note in the frequency of such extreme weather events increasing. Hailstorms of this intensity used to be a rare phenomenon, but climate change is affecting weather conditions across the continent, said Dr. Marta Zelinska and the climatologist of University of Warsaw. For many, recovery will be long and difficult. We will build everything, but it seems that nature is tasting other more year, said resident Anna Kowalska, standing near the destroyed greenhouse. A series of powerful hailstorms swept across Europe, causing chaos, destruction and dramatic scenes from Italy to Germany, France and Croatia. The storm intensified the collision of the most Mediterranean air and the cold front moving from the north to brought the goal-sized hailstorms, strong winds and torrential rain disrupted transport, agriculture and daily life in several countries. In northern Italy, the region in Lombardy and Emilia-Romagna were worst affected. A road turned wide and a hailstorm blacked crosses in a minute, smashed car wide shift and destroyed vineyard and crops. It sounded like a shot of the roof, say Marco Rossi, a resident of Bologna, describing the definite noise of a hail pound in its house. Meanwhile, in southern Germany, emergency service responded to hundreds of calls when powerful supercell storm hit Bavaria. Roofs were damaged, trees were uprooted and train service were temporarily suspended. In Munich, trams and buses were suspended after the ice blocked tracks. We haven't seen such large hailstorms in many years, said meteorologist Anna Weber of the German Meteorological Service. In France of the storm front caused chaos in a Rhode Alps region, where dramatic footage showed hail covering fields like snow. A wave of intense hailstorms swept across Europe, leaving behind broken roofs, destroyed groups and devastation communities from Italy to Germany, France and Poland. Meteorologists describe the event as one of the strongest hailstorms in the recent year, caused the collisions of cold southern air and a fast-moving cold front that swept across the continent. In Italy, especially the areas around Rome and Emilia-Romagna, the storm was accompanied by thunderstorm winds and hailstones the size of walnuts, which pelted cars and roofs and a thunderstorm roar. In a matter of seconds, it was winter, said local residents Luca DeSantis. The streets turned white, we could hardly see anything. Several motorists were stranded off ice-blocked drainage system, flooded tunnels and city roads. Further north in Bavaria, Germany, the storm caused chaos in communities near the Munich and Augsburg. Cars were damaged, routes were uprooted and public transport was halted. Local authorities received more than 1,200 emergency calls in a few hours.
Well, that's one hell of a hail.
A powerful storm swept across Europe, leaving a trail of destruction. Storm spanned to Germany. Across and the offshore, it is one of the most destructive weather events of the continent in the last decade. In France, coastal towns in Brittany and Normandy were hit by winds up to 115 km/h, which tore roofs, houses, and forced ferry service to be cancelled. In Paris, sudden flooding inundated routes and led to closure to some section of the metro. It felt like the city was flooded in a matter of minutes, said passenger Julien Maru when they threw wasted water. Southern Germany, including Bavaria, reported hailstorms the size of a golf ball that smashed car windows and damaged crops. Authorities confirmed several injured, and insurance companies warned that damage and agriculture could run into tens of millions of euros. Spain and Italy also experienced chaos. The streets of Valencia turned into rivers after 100 millimeters of rainfall into 2 hours. In Sicily, faced strong gusts of winds and left thousands of people without electricity. The storm raged all night, recalled Sicilian resident Lucia Romana. We couldn't sleep, afraid that the roof might collapse.
This one.
Istanbul was hit by a sudden and severe hailstorm that turned a bustling metropolis into a scene of chaos and destruction. The storm, which lasted less than an hour, brought hailstones the size of a golf ball, smashed windows, damaged cars and injured dozens of people who were outdoors. The city's streets were quickly covered with a white layer of hail, with a blockade and severe and causing sudden flooding. Major highways, including Bosphorus Bridge, were paralyzing and cars were unable to drive through the city's sewers. Public transport was severely disrupted. Tram lines were blocked and ferry service across the strait were suspended. Istanbul International Airport also reported delays after runways were brilliantly covered in hail. Emergency service responded there hundreds of calls, rescuing people trapped in their cars and clearing collapsing owners and a hit collapsing under the weight of hail. Hospitals treated dozens of people and cars and a hit injuries, and authorities confirmed at least 2 deaths related to the storm. Residents described a sense of panic. It felt like the sky was falling. The noise of hail falling on the roof was different. In a matter of minutes, our streets looked like a cat snow white, said Ice Demir, a shop owner in Cadio. Video posted online showed buses stuck knee-deep in the water and trees blocked by the force of the storm. Agriculture in the surrounding Marmara region suffered significant damage. Vineyards and orchards were damaged, threatening in the harvest and local livelihood. Insurance companies are already estimated the damage of tens of millions of euros. A powerful storm system was battered much of Europe, leaving a trail of destruction, transport, chaos, and a human tragedy in this way. The storm, which brought hurricane-force wind, torrential rain, and heavy snowfall in high areas, has affected countries such as France, Germany, Poland, Austria, and Balkans. In a Paris, wind knocked down trees and damaged roofs, while trains and flights were delayed. In Bavaria, Germany, hail and strong gas battered small town, breaking windows and damaged vehicles. The Netherlands reported severe coastal flooding as waves to 6-meter high hit decks and pods. Authorities confirmed at least a dozen fatalities across the continent, including drivers caught in flash flooding and persistent stuck by fallen debris. Hundreds of thousands of homes were left without power overnight, and emergency service received thousands of calls. Witnesses described terrified conditions. The roof of our town was lifted up and a few away in where paper said Nowak in the South Poland. In Austria, sky reports were cut off by avalanches to rapid tourists and the staff. Southern Germany has been hit by relating after a violent hailstorm battered Bavaria, shattered with windows, damaged rooftops, and leaving residents tainted by the scale of destruction. The storm swept across the region with a little warning, unleashing hailstones the large of a tennis ball. Streets in Munich, Augsburg, and surrounding towns were carpeted in ice, with the cars were left dented with white shifts smashed. It was like gunfire from the sky, said Klaus Richter, a resident of Augsburg. A hospital treated dozens of people to their cars burst and hit injuries. Children and elderly were most affected, with the emergency responded rushing to provide shelter in a school and a sports hall in the rural area. The storm was equally devastated. Groups of borzoi, maize, and a vineyard across Bavaria were pumped, with farmers reported losses that could total tens of millions of euros. Transport ground to the hail, trains were delayed, the stock were blocked, fallen branches of the debris were fighted from Munich airport were disrupted due to damaged aircraft and poor visibility. Highway torn hazards with a multiple accidents caused the slippery and ice-covered roads. Tourists were also cut off in the chaos. Visitors to Neuschwanstein Castle and Bavaria, farmers, Alpine Valley, showed a dramatic image for the hail building up for the snowdrifts, with local accompanying the summer storm to the winter blizzard. Meteorologists explained that the hailstorm was triggered by unstoppable air masses, colliding the southern Germany, intensified by record summer heat. Climate experts warn that extreme hail events are becoming more frequent across the Europe, pressing homes, agriculture, and infrastructure under increasing threat. Communities across Europe are in shock after a series of rare and powerful tornadoes swept through the parts of Germany, France, and Czech Republic, leaving widespread destruction in their wake. Authorities have confirmed numerous casualties and more than 200 injured, with the homes destroyed, cars overturned, and power lines down it. Western Germany was the hardest hit, with powerful wind which swept throughout the residential area, injured dozens of people, and damaged hundreds of buildings. Roofs were turned off, trees were uprooted, and debris was scattered across highways. It was like a fire train rushing throughout the city, said Catherine Miller, who took shelter in a basement with their family. In northern France, a tornado stuck near Calais overturned trucks on the A18 motorway and forcing several paths to close. Residents are decided chaos and hail, lightning, and stones wind battered cities already drenched in the heavy rain. The Czech Republic, still resilient from the devastation tornado in 2021, reported another several storm in southern Bavaria, where homes and farms again destroyed it. Emergency service rushed to help stranded residents and volunteers walking through the night to clear debris from narrow rural streets. Meteorologists say the tornadoes formed after the mass of hot Mediterranean air collided with a cold front moving from the Arctic, creating unstable conditions ideal to supercell storms. Experts warn that the climate change could make Europe more vulnerable to such rare but devastating events. Tornadoes were once considered almost impossible here, explained climatologist Dr. Helena Novak. Now they are becoming a dangerous new reality. The infrastructure of the three countries suffered serious damage. Rail service was suspended, tens of thousands of people were left without power due to power outage, and schools were closed to several regions. Insurance companies estimate the damage in the hundreds of millions of euros. Despite the devastation, there are stories of resilience. Neighbors farmed human change of cleared debris, firefighters rescued trapped families, and the shelters opened their doors to lose their homes. As Europe begins the long process of recovery, the tornado several stuck reminded that extreme weather is no longer confined to remote regions. It now processes to grow through to here to the continent. Air traffic across Europe was disrupted, with hundreds of flights cancelled or diverted. Truck driver forced a dangerous motorway to ferry service across the North Sea were suspended. Meteorologists say the storm is a part of unusually active weather patterns that has swept across the continent and intensified due to the collisions of warm air masses with the cold Arctic front. We have seen storms and gathered intensify and unpredictability, which constitutes a climate change trend. As dawn broke, the full extent of the damage became more apparent. Europe leaders have promised to allocate emergency funds to aid in the recovery, but the many residents in the shock remain strong. One moment we were having dinner, and the next the roof was gone. Recall Italian Marco Bianchi and the natural Roman who has both here. Central Europe was not less affected. In Switzerland and Austria, transport was paralyzed. Trains were stopped due to landslides and flights were cancelled in Zurich and Vienna. In Poland, emergency services received hundreds of calls and routes blocked, major highways and power lines fell. Meteorologists explained the storm straight the collision to the warm Mediterranean air with the cold Arctic front, which according to one expert created perfect conditions to the storm. Climatologist Marcus Keller warned, such extreme weather is not longer a rarity. They are becoming a new norm. At least 20 people have been reported dead and hundreds injured across Europe. Tens of thousands of people remain without electricity. European leaders have promised to provide aid and food to recovery, but it could take weeks to rebuild. For many, this night of destruction will be forever etched to their memories. As one of the Munich residents said, Europe has seen storms before, but never have so much countries have been hit so hard at the same time.
看不到，
在那里还会亮。
对呀、就我靠，不是，那个好像是它电线被吹了，电线是电。
Farmers estimated the dramatic it's a million of euros, especially in vineyards that produced world-famous wines. It's devastating, said Jean-Paul Lefroy, a winemaker near Lyon. In just 10 minutes, the works in the entire season was destroyed. Further east in Croatia and Slovenia, hailstones the size of eggs smashed windows and stripped streets bare. Emergency service worked through the night and cleared debris to restore power to affected areas. Local authority described the damage as serious and extensive. Meteorologists across Europe are linking the surge in severe hailstorm to rising temperature and atmospheric instability. The Mediterranean is warming faster than the global average, warning climatologist Dr. Yelena and Amaretti. This created ideal conditions to explosive storm to formation of giant hailstorm. The European Severe Laboratory reported that more than 400 hail-related incidents were recorded in 34 hours, of extremely high number of October. Experts warn that such events once considered rare and now becoming more common due to the effects of climate change. Cleanup efforts are underway across the continent, and insurance companies are assessing the extent of the damage. From broken skylights in Rome and city streets in Munich and stories fury that what yet another stark reminder that Europe weather is becoming more unpredictable and dangerous than ever before. Train service was suspended in several provinces, and dozens of flights were cancelled. He rerouted the Charles of Gaulle and Orly airport. In a Burlex vineyard already wrecked the wet summer suffered for the damage, raising fears and a poor harvest. We have lost entire section of our vineyard, explained Winmarshal Claire Rousseau. This is a devastation blow to our livelihood. And in French, entire minister deployed 3,500 firefighters, and the regional governor urged residents to stay indoors. 2 deaths have been confirmed, including the driver who was gassed and crushed in the fallen trees. Meteorologists said the storm was caused by the warm Atlantic air cooled in with a cold Arctic system, resulting in a strong wind. Such events are becoming more frequent in the intense, warned climatologist Dr. Jean Morel, linking the storm to changing climate conditions. President Emmanuel Macron experienced solidarity with the affected families, promising rapid assistance to fund the recovery. But for many residents, the night of destruction will not forget anytime soon. We had stormed before, said local teacher Sophie Laurent from Naples, but never anything that shook the earth so much. A violent storm has battered Germany, causing strong winds, torrential rain and widespread disruption north from the North Sea to Bavaria. The system, one of the worst intense of the season, was uprooted trees, torn off roofs and left hundreds of thousands of people without power. In Hamburg and Bremen, storm surge flooded riverside neighborhoods and emergency crews rushed to build bird as the Elbe River overflowed. In Berlin, fallen trees blocked major roads in the tram lines, forcing communities to find alternative roads. Munich International Airports reported more than 100 cancelled flights, while trains in Bavaria and Saxony were halted due to the debris in tracks. Authorities confirmed multiple fatalities, including driver crushed by the fallen trees and the rescue workers swept away by the floodwaters. Dozens of people were injured by many debris flying through the city center. Hospital reported an increase in emergency admissions overnight. Residents described the storm as apocalyptic. The wind sounded like a freight train outside my window. We were building and the shaking, said Anne Miller, a resident of Berlin. Several European nations have been struck by a wave of violent hailstorm, leaving behind the scene of chaos, destruction and disbelief. From northern Italy to southern Germany, Austria and parts of France, residents awakened the road coated in ice, damaged vehicles and crops destroyed it in the fields. Meteorologists say the storm were followed by the clash of moist Mediterranean air with a strong cold front from the northern Europe, creating a supercell condition. Hailstorms, some larger than golf ball, pounded the city center and rural area alike. In the Munich cars were left with the shattered white spirits, while the Bologna, Italy public transport was paralyzed. The hail-covered tram stack. Agriculture Associational report to severe losses. Vineyard in Tuscany and orange in Austria suffered significant damage, for the farmers described the storm as worse than the case. One farmer near Verona lamented, "In 10 minutes we lost what we had worked for all year." Emergency services were inundated with calls. Dozens of injuries were reported, mainly from the falling hail and the raw accident caused by sudden ice flakes. Firefighters in Austria rescued motorists stranded on a highway blackened in ice, while the Franz-Frome Valley flooded added the crisis and a hail-blocked drains. Video shared widely online showed iconic city squares buried under a layer of ice, sparked disbelief among the viewers. Tourists caught in the storm described as apocalyptic in the like winter in the middle of summer. Experts warn that Europe have seen a rise in extreme hail events in recent years, while the climate change likely intensified worldwide. Scientists know that the winter air cold most issue falling strongest storm capable of production large destructive hail. We are dealing with a widespread roof damaging power outage, said Bavarian Fire Chief Markus Keller, who described the situation as apocalyptic. In southern France, vineyard and orange severely damaged, with some region reported a total loss of crops. Farmers in province of Rhône-Alpes region experienced a disaster after huge hailstones destroyed their vineyards. The storm took everything. Lamented winemaker Paul Gerard, "The harvest we have been waiting for all year is gone." In Central and Eastern Europe, hailstorm intensified. In Poland, the city of Krakow was hit by torrential rain, with freezing rain that flooded streets and damaged cars. In Austria, large hailstorms caused flights, delays and forced airports at the close temperatures. Meteorologists attributed this storm weather is unstable atmospheric layers, which are intensified due to global warming. Europe is now experiencing for more connective storms, phenomena accompanied by supercell lightning and giant hailstorms, explained Dr. Petra Long in the European Meteorological Observatory. This is not a longer rarity, is becoming part of new normal. Authorities across the continent continue to assess the damage, warning the future determination is weather conditions, while cleanup crews work to repair the damage caused by the ice storm. Many residents describe the surreal scene. Summer streets transformed into winter landscape in a matter of minutes. The Spanish Meteorological Service has declared a red alert for the eastern parts of the Valencia region due to heavy rain. Thursday, a repeat of the flooding that killed 235 people in the area last October. Spanish National Meteorological Service warned of extreme danger and a very difficult situation in Tarragona, Castellón and Valencia on a Sunday and Monday. On this warning was echoed Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez. Citing of meteorological warning, Sánchez urged citizens to follow the instruction of the emergency service to all times. Local official announced that school and college, libraries and parks, as well as public space including gardens, markets and cemeteries, would be closed in the Valencia on a Monday. Overnight rains caused local flooding and overflowing of Arroyo Aldea, one of the town hardest hit by October 2024 flooding that killed more than 213 people. No casualties have been reported. On a Sunday afternoon, residents of the city received a red weather alert on this phone. The flooding caused by heavy rains in October last year were exacerbated by the effect of climate change. As a warning atmosphere holds more water, climate change increasing the risk and intensity of the flood from extreme rainfall. Local residents triggered a series of protests against for the believed this mismanagement of last year's crisis calamity. The regional offices did not warn in the time, despite the fact that Meteorological Service had issued warning.